Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the show Midnight Mass. Fun fact, the judge in episode 1 is voiced by Carla Gugino, who has collaborated with Mike Flanagan on some of his other projects. This show came out in 2021 and stars Hamish Linklater, Zach Gilford, and Kate Siegel, and was created by Mike Flanagan. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Midnight Mass tells the story of a Catholic parish in an isolate community that starts seeing a miraculous rebirth. This is led by Father Paul, who is more than meets the eye. Subscribe down below, please. Midnight Mass is a supernatural mystery mixed with a character drama. If you like The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, or even Hemlock Grove, then I suggest that you give this show a try. Midnight Mass comes from the mind of Mike Flanagan, who has collaborated with Netlfix on numerous projects, including The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Hush, and Gerald's Game. Midnight Mass is his latest project, and it does not disappoint. Throughout the series, you get so intertwined with these characters' stories, and you really want to see how everything is going to play out, while also having this sense of fear because there are some things that are just really unknown, and you know that other things are going to come out, but there's something that is not right in this community. I love how this show has many different plot twists that keeps you on your toes while also keeping you interested in the show and wanting to continue on. A cool thing about Midnight Mass is that this is not the first time we've actually heard of the idea of Midnight Mass. In other Mike Flanagan projects like Hush, we see that Midnight Mass is a book that the main character writes, while also seeing the book in Gerald's Game on one of their nightstands. It's really interesting to see how he wrote this story in 2014 and pitched it to Netflix, and it didn't get picked up immediately. So he included it in his other projects because it was so deeply personal to him. And he never gave up on this project. And now it's a miniseries, and let alone it's a great miniseries. When I first watched the trailer for this show, I thought that the trailer didn't explain much about what the show was going to be about, but after watching the show, I realized that the trailer actually showed us a lot. When I was watching the trailer before watching the show, it was really confusing. There were different shots of different things, and you see like this town, and you know it's just very mysterious, while there is a very haunting version of Somewhere Only We Know playing. But when I watched the show and then I rewatched the trailer, I realized that the trailer was giving us lots of hints about what was actually going to be happening in this show, but you wouldn't have known unless you had seen the show because then you would be able to call out these hints. And so I just thought that that was cool. And I thought that that version of the song, Somewhere Only We Know, it was amazing on the trailer as well. Midnight Mass boldly asks the question, would you blindly follow someone if they are preaching about miracles that are too good to be true? This takes place in a small town filled with gullible people who start taking advice from this Father Paul, who they know nothing about. It was interesting to see how this show really shows you basically a religious cult and showing how these things have come to form and showing how this religious cult wrecked this very small community. There's a lot of dialogue in this show between the characters that asks very existential questions about life in general, but also about belief and death. It was interesting to have this conversation about, are you accepting of other people's beliefs and religions when it came to a lot of the talk around, the sheriff and his relationship with the townspeople. I thought it was great because it made you think yourself, would you be open to having these conversations with someone that views the world a little bit differently than you, and how open you would be to accepting this information and learning a little bit more about other cultures and other beliefs. While there is a lot of dialogue in this show, There is a lot of moments in this show that has the signature scary moments that we've known from Mike Flanagan shows. It's really interesting to see because you're wondering what's going on in this spooky town and what is these mysterious things that are happening. And speaking of spooky, the mirror from the film Oculus also makes a guest appearance in this show, considering that Mike Flanagan also directed that movie. This show has some interesting spots on this island, and since the island is so small, we got to see different locations. I love how these shots also showed us how spooky a small island can be when it's dark, because at some moments you feel that you are not alone. Bev Keane is one character who will be on your radar throughout the entire series. She is so disrespectful and she spends her time trying to convert people who are not Catholics, which in this process she ends up crossing a lot of boundaries. I hated her character and I felt that she just had so much hate and judgment in her heart, even though she was preaching about being accepted. My favorite thing about this show is how we see this dead character, but the visuals on the character make you get a little bit of a hint of how they died. I thought it was interesting because this is something that we've seen in Mike Flanagan shows, and I love that it continued onto this show. In The Haunting of Hill House, we had Nell, who was singing the bent neck lady. And in The Haunting of Bly Manor, we had Danny, who was seeing her ex boyfriend. And in both of those situations, it was also giving us a hint of how those people died. I thought it's really interesting to see in this show that there is also a dead person, while also giving us a hint of what it is tied to and how their death is influenced by like the visuals on screen. I just like that he continues adding this in there because I think it's cool visuals to see and seeing how that's something that is stuck in the character's mind. And it's something that, they feel attached to because of their decisions in their lives, feel attached to this character who they keep seeing even though the character is dead. Midnight Mass is a great show with an amazing cast and an interesting story that will keep you entertained. At the heart of this show, it is a horror series, but it asks a lot of questions that'll really get you thinking. If you have not seen Midnight Mass, I highly suggest that you go on Netflix and check it out. Thank you for watching my video. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you have not subscribed, please do so you can keep up to date with more of my videos. But besides that, everyone stay safe, have fun, and goodbye.